RotoGrinders Daily Fantasy Podcasts are presented to you by Yahoo Fantasy Sports. This week 15, you need to be checking out Yahoo. They've got a $1 million guaranteed prize pool tournament, which also has the greatest value proposition in the history of DFS. $250,000 in guaranteed overlay in this contest. It's a $20 entry with only a 10 entry max. If you haven't signed up, make sure you go to rotogrinders.com/Yahoo and use promo code Grinders30 for a $30 matching deposit bonus on that first deposit. Check them out this week. It's Yahoo Daily Fantasy Sports.
Welcome back to the absolutely epic early week podcast. Week 15, boys. Dean here. That's Dean 7894. You want to get all technical on me? Joined as usual suspects, leading off bat and first. It's one great week. Grant, how was a Monday night treating you? Of course, we recorded this on Monday night, right after Monday Night Football. Riveting game. I heard it was great, according to Twitter. I did not watch 1 minute. Grant, how's Monday treating you?
I mean, I'm a Seahawks fan. We won. It might have been a trash game, but I'm pretty sure we basically secured a playoff berth considering who we're playing the rest of the season, and we have the tiebreaker over everyone else competing with us. So that's good. I could have used more Thielen love in the game because all my Thursday through Monday lineups that were my only hope of losing less money this weekend had Thielen in them, and he did not do great. But, you know, this is my first losing week in Denver, so I can't be terribly unhappy.
Fair enough. We're going to bring in Bobby. BobbyFi, you were the Kyle Ripken of this podcast. You never missed a week. And then you had some audio issues, some technical difficulties. We got Mangone to film for you last week. He filmed in swimmingly, by the way. He actually did a Bobby impression. I'm not sure if you listened to it much, but he crumbled up some paper in the background. It was a lot of fun. So thanks, Mangone, if you're out there listening. Appreciate you stepping in. And Bobby, welcome back. Start a new streak.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Happy to be doing another show with you guys. I started another streak, like you said. I think that Grant now is officially the Cal Ripken of the show.
I prefer the Peyton Manning. In my old age, it's going to go real downhill.
And what, you're going to win a title or something at the same time? You could argue his last years were probably they definitely was most successful. Anyway, interesting. This is a weird slate. Ready to get into it. Pretty much want to talk to you guys about it because I don't have a great feel for it yet, and it's definitely going to be a tricky one.
Can I sidetrack the podcast just for a second? I know we have nonsense we backload at the end of the show, but trust me, when you guys see this slate, we're talking about it is absolutely one of the grossest 11-game slates I've ever seen. But we mentioned Kyle Ripken. Do you guys know the urban legend that supposedly Kyle Ripken? There was a game that was canceled in Baltimore because there was an issue with the lights, like in the middle of his streak. And the legend goes that Kyle Ripken left the stadium because he went to go beat up Kevin Costner, who was allegedly sleeping with his wife. Have you guys heard this before?
No, but that is incredible.
I wish it was true, but it's apparently not true, but I want it to be true. It's an amazing story that Baltimore goes so far to say, the lights are broke, we can't play tonight because Kyle Ripken's out there beating up Kevin Costner, who's hooking up with Kyle Ripken's wife. But there you go. Google it.
It's pretty crazy.
A lot to read up on. Do you guys have an urban legend, like a sports urban legend that you wish was true that's probably not?
I mean, that Wade Boggs drank 50 beers on a continental flight.
That is true. 80 is actually the real number, I believe.
Yes, okay, 80 is the myth, 50 is the true number.
I don't know what's true. I'd like to believe that was true.
He also ate like turkey or chicken before every single game. That's superstitious.
Mostly fried before every single game.
There you go.
Wade Boggs is my hero.
There you go. We derailed the podcast just for a second. Of course, we usually backload our nonsense for the end of the pod. I did want to mention that at the top, and this is important for real. This is a spot, this is a read, but I 100% believe in this. Yahoo Fantasy, Yahoo DFS this week. They must have found themselves some money because they're dropping. There's a $1 million tournament going down this week, boys. $1 million tournament guaranteed. Where they're giving away at minimum, they're giving away $250,000 in overlay. So, if you're not playing a Yahoo DFS this week, you're doing yourself a giant disservice. We'll talk about, Grant, tell the people what overlay is because maybe we have some new people in the industry that what is this overlay you speak of? Because once upon a time, this was like a thing like 3-4 years ago or so. What is overlay, Grant?
So it's basically when the average payout is more than the average buy-in. So in this one, there's a total of $750,000 in entry fees, but there's $1 million in prizes. So the overlay is just when the company is losing money. And so Yahoo is guaranteed at a bare minimum to lose $250,000 on this contest. And not only that, only $10 max entry. So you don't have to worry about all them big players like BobbyFi and Dean Shavel.
Yeah.
Dean 78902 if you want to get all
Big
technical.
bully, Bobby.
78904. It's not 78902.
I don't care. Numbers are irrelevant, especially.
I was taken. That guy's a jerk.
Numbers are irrelevant. That's a great analysis so far.
Yeah, so you said 10. It's a 10 entry max, $20 entry fee. So if you're going to play $200 in DFS anywhere in the industry throughout the, DraftKings fan, wherever you're playing, play $200 to delegate on Yahoo this week. If you guys aren't signed up at Yahoo, hey, we got yourselves a promo code to get yourself a matching bonus here at RotoGrinders. RotoGrinders.com/Yahoo. Use the promo code Grinders30. That's the number 30. Grinders30, and you get a $30 matching bonus on your first deposit. So, look, deposit $200. Max enter this tournament for $20 per at 10 entries. Again, and this is assuming it sells out, which who knows if it's going to sell out or not. They're paying out at minimum $250,000. It says on the site like management fee. They actually tell you on the site. They tell you what the rake is, and I think it's minus 33.3%. So negative 33.3%, Bobby. I don't know how much Yahoo you play, Bobby, but I recommend, like for real, like there's no way I'm not entering this. It makes a ton of sense. Play on Yahoo this week, and if you guys never signed up before, RotoGrinders.com/Yahoo, and then get yourself a $30 matching bonus from RG. Promo code Grinders30. Bobby, did I sell you? Are you going to play this week?
Yeah, the thing is, I've played a lot on Yahoo in the past. It's just been I've been distracted with other sites, but this is a great example of it. Definitely is luring me back in. I mean, and it should be for everyone. I mean, like we get this is rare in our industry, and we pay a ridiculous rate as it is for most tournaments. Here we're getting a chance. Like anytime you have a chance in anything that you're going to have any overlay, you have to like take advantage of it. So definitely want to jump on that.
Yeah, absolutely play that. I'm going to play it. Sounds like Grant's going to play as well too, because free money. I like free money. Well, I mean, you have to like put up a respectable score, but somebody's getting some free money.
Also, 25% of entries paid out, so you got a 25% chance of doubling. Not that much worse than a regular double up.
So, all right, we stalled long enough, boys. This is a terrible slate. So everybody's playing. There's no buys, but there's no college football, so there's games on Saturday. So here's the games we're crossing out. There's no Chargers and no Kansas City.
Why? Just skip it.
Well, because the people
Can you give us the body parts of all those games before we do anything?
Tell us who's injured.
So Austin Eckler is questionable. He's highly questionable for Thursday night, but we're not going to delve into that. I'm just for the people out there that are listening to the podcast. Like, why are they talking about Austin Eckler? This is the reason why. And you're going to hear all the teams you actually want to play players on are on this list because the schedule this week is no fun. Chargers KC on Thursday. That's not happening. That's not going down. Not in the main slate. Saturday there's two games. Houston and Texas, Battle of Texas. We're not going to be talking about those dudes. Cleveland, Denver also on Saturday. Philly and the Rams Sunday night. That could be a fun game. Side note, Yahoo slate, you actually can play. The main slate has Philadelphia and the Rams. So you're actually going to have players you want to play. And then Monday night has New Orleans and Carolina. There you go, guys. We got it out of the way.
Right. You said Houston and Texas. Battle of Texas. It's Houston and Jets, isn't it?
Is it? Did I write that down wrong? I wrote all this down. I'm not reading.
Well, those are the same team, so I don't understand who you thought they were playing.
Oh, yeah, you're right. we could cut that out of the podcast, boys, or no?
No way.
Nope.
Let's power through and get into the actual slate.
Put that one on the blooper reel. Okay, so here you go, guys. All right, the 11-game main slate, at least on FanDuel and on DraftKings. Of course, we usually talk about DK pricing, but feel free to throw in some Yahoo players if you guys want. Again, the Yahoo slate does include Philadelphia and the Rams, but this is the main point I'm getting to you guys. 11-game slate. I'm just going to run off some games. Feel free to chime in whatever you like. Tell me the games you're interested in players, okay? Just that's it. Don't tell me the player's name. Just stop me when you're interested. Washington, they travel to Jacksonville this week, boys. Detroit. They play at Buffalo.
I am interested.
Allen. It's Allen, isn't it?
Oh, you mean the best running back in the league right now?
Can we play
3 weeks in a row?
Can we play two defenses in this today on this slate? Will they let
It's
us?
so bad, boys. This is a terrible slate. But all right, since we're here, why not? Tell me, Grant. Like Allen is interesting, right? He's ran for 100 yards 3 consecutive weeks. Okay, I'm sorry, 2 of the last 3. He meatloafed it, but 1 week he ran for 99. You know, it's a big deal because that cost you that deal rushing bonus on DK. But like Allen's in play, right?
Is Allen not the best QB on the entire board? You have a pretty much everyone was just getting a big old something or other for Lamar Jackson when he first started playing and he got 100 yards rushing. Like, oh, he's gonna lock. We pretty much have a 12-point floor there with his rushing yards. We actually have that with Josh Allen now because he has one thing he does in this offense, or I guess 2 things. He runs out to the right or left, looks downfield. If he sees a guy, he passes it. If he doesn't, he runs it. He's going to get 100 yards rushing again against the Detroit defense that has played decently lately, but it's still not that great. Buffalo, you have 3 wide receivers on their team that are going to get pretty much all the targets, and they're all under 4,200. They might be terrible. Oh, yeah, how did Reuben Foster end up doing?
Yeah, Zay Jones won all the money the week before, too, when you talked me off him every other week.
They're not predictable. How about that?
Yeah,
they're highly variant.
I mean, honestly, that's what you want in GBPs, so it's not the worst case.
Yeah, cheap and unpredictable. That describes me perfectly.
You are highly predictable, Grant. I knew you were going to say that. Foster I feel like he's like a writer. Isn't there like a famous writer named Foster? It's a different guy. I'm pretty sure it's a different guy.
I think you're thinking of the Australian beer.
Pretty sure that's a lie, by the way. It's just a marketing ploy. I don't believe Foster's is actually Australian for beer. Yeah, so sure. You could also play Allen naked, can't you, Grant?
I mean, you can. You absolutely can. I mean, if you just like a free 30 points. But you got to assume one, like I suggest pairing him with one of his 3 uber cheap wide receivers. I mean, we don't know which one it's going to be, but I mean, the chances of Zay Jones is probably locked in for 7, 8, 9 targets. I mean, whether he does anything with them, he's still going to get them. So you have a 5-point floor there, which isn't great, but 4,200, you can deal with it there. You have Reuben Foster, who's locked in for a few targets. And then McKenzie in this offense now, locked in for a few targets and was a bit involved in the rush game. I believe he has 2 rushing touchdowns on the season here, 2 in the last 3 weeks at least. Yeah. So, I mean, you have guys that, like, if you're searching for GPP gold, then, 2 in the last 3 weeks they played. If you're searching for GPP cold, you're not going to get much better point per dollar from at least probably one of the Buffalo wide receivers, and you're just not going to get better raw points for point per dollar or just as much of a floor as you're going to get with Josh Allen. I mean, it's not like Detroit's really going to be on the field that much. They're not a great offense at the moment, so Buffalo's probably going to end up with the ball a decent amount here. And they're playing outside of a dome, so that doesn't help them at all, and probably cold weather. This could absolutely be a huge What was that Josh Allen game?
That was my phone. I forgot. I have a brand new phone, and I thought I silenced it, and I did not silence it. I don't know how to silence my phone. I've yet to read the tutorial.
You go scroll, push down from the top, and press the ringer thing and change it to vibrate. It's a Droid. Every one was the same. You just had a Droid.
Yeah, how do you know it's the Google Pixel 3 LG? I think that's what it's called? XL? That sound right? I don't know.
I don't care. This is a football podcast.
Oh, well, you were inquisitive all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden you weren't inquisitive. But is Allen kind of who like people wanted Tebow to be, except now he's got this massive arm?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, what happened when Tebow was in the offense? Every single week he was fantasy gold pretty much outside of that 1 3-for-8 showing.
How many times are you going to say fantasy gold on this podcast?
I don't know. I think I just watched Goldmember, and I just watched a show where they put gold flakes on it. My brain is going one direction.
You're gold, baby.
Goldmember. I refuse to believe you just watched Goldmember. It's not 2003.
All right, first of all, the Austin Powers series is one of the greatest trilogies of all time.
My kids watch that. Like my daughter watches it all the time. Her friends watch it all the time.
Trilogy. Nobody calls House of Powers a trilogy.
A trilogy. I actually love it.
Whenever I'm going to refer to the trilogy, it's Austin Powers.
It'd be hilarious. Like the next time someone's watching that movie, you walk in the room. Oh, are you watching the Austin Powers trilogy? It sounds so ridiculous.
So, okay, we talked about it's not a game-by-game podcast. I was trying to make the point. You guys stopped, of course, at Buffalo, Detroit. But let's just kind of work our way up here just to kind of throw some other games that are out there. Tennessee and the Giants. We'll talk about Barkley in a second. Don't worry about it. Miami, Minnesota, Arizona, Atlanta, Green Bay, Chicago, Seattle, San Fran, Tampa, Baltimore, Oakland, Cincinnati. I guess Dallas and Indianapolis and like New England, Pittsburgh are the two most appealing games by default. We have no totals as of Monday night, Bobby, that are over 50, which is sort of weird to see. That may change. But, does one of those games going to jump out for you? I imagine it's probably one at the top, but you might surprise me.
It's definitely New England and Pittsburgh. I've been saying that this Patriots offense is going to get it together, especially after they had the time off before, after that bad loss to Tennessee. I thought that this last week, that was one of the really good things I did was really play their passing game hard. Unfortunately, it was kind of hard for anyone but Gronk to go off because they all sort of did enough. We were 1 9-yard touchdown catch that would have been nice, would have been an extra 10 fantasy points for Josh Gordon and made him really would have changed my whole week around probably actually. Anyway, but I think that this is a week where you can stack this game. Other than that, I think we're just talking about individual plays and like from an overview, like it's almost like I feel like this is like a run it back slate. Like I tried a lot of lineups last week with like Samuels and Wilson in it. I understand they were popular, but I just was differentiating so many other places I didn't worry about it. They didn't really go through, and now that with their higher prices, I don't know if people are going to go there. And I think they're both like strongly in play. So right now, I'm in my shell lineups that I'm building. Like at the moment, that's what I'm finding myself doing is focusing on New England, Pittsburgh, and then running back some of those guys. And also, I do think some of those Bills cheap receivers are interesting. I think running it back was Zay Jones. He had some opportunities that he missed in last game. He had another play called back. Like I think there's a spot like you can take some shots, but certainly no games like really overwhelmingly exciting. But except for I do think this New England Pittsburgh game does stand out as being significantly better than the rest.
Yeah, Bobby, it's a small. I mean, there's a debate as far as was Gronk washed? People were saying Gronk was washed and all that. He had a big game. I'll say this: it's a small sample size.
He had a big game. He also is the reason they lost the game. And I don't know whose coaching decision that was. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in my life. Why is he on the field in that situation?
They thought Ryan Tannehill could throw a 70-yard pass.
What was he doing?
It was a 69-yard touchdown. Of course, I just remembered 69 because Gronk.
You need your fast, agile guy at the back of that.
Wait, is that why he missed the tackle for a 69-yard touchdown? Next level thinking, Gronk.
It was absolutely insane that whole situation.
He's watched as a corner. Yeah, but I mean, if they were at the 50, I get it. Like they're going to chuck it and the ball's going to be in the end zone somewhere. But the Tannehill's not going to throw the ball 70 yards down the field. So I did not understand why Gronk was in the field, but whatever. I didn't catch what Belichick said after the game. I imagine he was a bit of a curmudgeon. I assume he's washed as a quarterback. How about that? We can say that. But Gronk looked legit as a tight end last week. They did hike his price up a tick more this week. Last week he was super cheap on DK. Is he somebody you're considering, Gronk there, Grant?
Oh, you mean up against the team that I believe has allowed the most targets and receptions to tight ends? Gronk, who has had 7 targets in 3 of the last 4 games. Gronk, who's still a really, really big dude who can catch things and pull people over. Yeah, he's a great play this week. I mean, the problem is that you have Ebron for $100 more expensive, and you have Kittle at $6,300. There's the reasons why I wouldn't end up playing a whole lot of Gronk. Over on Yahoo, though, he is only $18, which is super cheap. He's $4 cheaper or $2 cheaper than Jared Cook, or $4 cheaper, which is pretty darn good. So Yahoo plug right there. There we go. But yeah, Gronk's absolutely in play. I mean, Pittsburgh has been beat up over the middle all season long. They're fairly good on the outside. So this is a game where I expect Edelman and Gronk to just go ham here. Like Pittsburgh is just not great at that spot in the field. So this is going to be a high-scoring game. Like, this is over in Pittsburgh, so you know that Ben's going to be on his A game. Like, he could easily put up 400 yards here. If he does, then over on the other side of the field, like Gronk and Edelman are going to end up with a whole bunch of targets in this game because Brady is going to be passing the ball a lot. I mean, we look at this New England offense, And we look at Brady, it's not like he's been that bad this year. He just doesn't throw a lot in a ton of these matchups. I mean, and a lot of the stuff he is throwing is a little bit shorter. 32 passes 2 weeks ago, 31 the week before. Like, they're a run-heavy team, and they are an up-pace team. But, yeah. So I absolutely love Gronk and Edelman. Those are the guys I'd go with, although Josh Gordon, I don't think there's a single week I ever want to go through where I don't have to play him at least once.
This is a rematch of was this like an AFC, not an AFC championship, like a wild card game or something? Did these guys play in the playoffs, and Ben, like, you were there?
New England beat Jacksonville beat Pittsburgh, so no, it wasn't.
But they've played each other a million times.
Was that 2 years ago? Well, I'm getting a flashback.
It's basically every other year that it happens. So we just
know
know
a lot of times in the playoffs. I think
the Bengals and every other year the Bengals run into the Steelers, and every other year the Steelers run into the Patriots.
I love Juju, by the way. Juju Smith. He's just a little bit cheaper than Brown, but I prefer him. And it's not chasing. I just feel like Juju's kind of surpassing Brown. And
I've been saying that this year, but I don't know if he's surpassing. I still think it's a scary one, man. They're both in great spots to smash.
Oh yeah, sure. Grab shares of both, but if you're only going to allow me one, I think I'm taking Juju Smith, Schuster, and and that's the reason why I lost last week's tweets or consequences. We'll talk about that at the end of the pod. Good job, Dean. Good call. I was debating between the two, and I went with Antonio Brown, which is kind of sort of chalky, and I paid for it, I suppose, right? Ben, by the way, left last game. No, he didn't leave last game, but he had a rib. He was talking about an injury, but that's what Ben does in those games, right? He just all of a sudden is wrapped up and play in the upcoming practice, but he's always going to play, right? Right? We're assuming that Roethlisberger is good to go this week. He's going to play at least.
Yeah, he should be fine to go.
Samuels, the price was bumped up a little bit. I just don't think it was bumped up enough. He's 5.2 on DK. I think he's $16 on Yahoo. Yet their floor is 10. If you look at Samuels, he played 80% of the snaps. He ran a route or ran the ball. I think it was on 45 of 48 snaps. So he was heavily involved. Big pass catcher in the kind of college time, and of course he caught a ton of passes this week as well too. He's just they adjusted the price, Bobby, but not enough. Correct.
I think Samuels is an excellent play this week. And that was a weird game because you have to factor in they played a huge portion of the parts that mattered without Roethlisberger, which changes their whole offense. Like, this is an offense that's really heavily features the running back, and we've seen that for however many years where guys like, who was it at D'Angelo Williams, looked like God, half of the season while Le'Veon was hurt that a couple years back. This is a great spot. He's still too cheap. I love him in this matchup. I really think this game is where you want to target. And the one thing I'd say is the Patriots defense is so slow all over the field that anybody with speed or burst it, like any burst, that's why I like Juju, but I don't think of Juju. I think of him more as like a big physical. You're going to find him in the end zone receiver too. He's a good athlete. Don't get me wrong, but Antonio Brown is one of the fastest people around still. So I just think that they both should smash in this kind of matchup. I just really like this game. And I'm guessing this is where the chalk's going to go because it is hard to pick other spots.
Yeah. By default, this is the game our eyes are going to go to for sure. And it's not a bad game, but it's a total under 50. But, Pittsburgh's pretty concise. You kind of sort of know where those touchdowns are going to come from. New England, I know there's some names thrown out there, Grant, but a little bit trickier. I don't like their backfield now with 3 running backs basically in the mix.
Four, you've got Devlin.
Devlin. Power ranked the New England running backs. I'm assuming Devlin's 4th. I'm guessing so. But, he's definitely people don't like him in fantasy. I like him when I don't play the Patriots, so I love seeing Devlin score, and I have no part of them. It's like, yeah, Devlin. But, we don't want any part of that backfield, do we? I don't think so.
No, you don't go. I mean, I feel like James White, if you're – like you can kind of play it a few different ways where they're coming from behind. That's one. Later on in the game, and he ends up in the game more, gets a decent amount of targets. I mean, it's still – he's the main receiving back there, and he's a guy that could potentially get you there with a decent receiving game, 1 or 2 touchdowns, and a whole boatload of receiving yards and receptions. But outside of him and just certain scenarios where you don't have too much on the other side and you're going to all-out stack with Pittsburgh, in which case they slaughtered New England for the majority of the game, then that's the only way you roll with a New England running back.
Bobby, is the second most appealing game the Dallas Cowboys at Indianapolis?
I don't like playing that one as much. I'm definitely gonna have pieces of it. Like I'm gonna play Ty. I'm gonna play Cooper. Some. I think I'll play Ebron. Like I don't know. I don't feel like in love with that one the same way. I actually like some other really ugly actual games as great shootouts, and I think that that's what I'm looking at as pivots. I like the. It sounds so gross to say this out loud. I like the Oakland-Cincinnati game.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's my favorite one on the slate, guys.
I really think that's
it's like the third highest total by that game. The third, depending on where you look. That and Tampa Bay Baltimore. That's how bad the slate is. But okay, what do we do with Oakland-Cincinnati? Is Mixon the guy?
I think Mixon is the obvious one, but I think all the receivers are just incredible values. Like I think that they're. I love Jordy. I love Tyler Boyd. I love John Ross. Actually, I like John Ross. I don't love him. I think Roberts is fine. I think Jared Cook is actually the better play than Gronk, but I'll use Gronk in my stacks. And I think Jared Cook might be the best tight end on the board. Cincinnati has been just so god-awful, except for the fact that Greg Kittle's the greatest ever. It's just that Seattle's pretty good defensively against the over the middle. So I love Jared Cook. I think this game is just you can go so many ways with it, and you can still afford to pay up for all these spots. Because even though I don't love other games, like I think one of the Minnesota receivers goes completely off. Maybe even both. Who knows? But I love that their spot against Miami. I don't really want to run it back against that with a pretty good defense. But I do think that as far as games go, this is the other game that stood out to me.
Yeah, Jared Cook I think was losing snaps, and I'm pulling it up now as far as the old PFF. 67 snaps. Cook was in the field for 57 of them. It looks like he ran a pass route 39 times and ran blocked 18 times. So he was running some routes. And he got, I think 9 targets on average the last 2 weeks. And there's people out there that are saying, well, he's getting less and less snaps because Oakland's trying to lose. And Gruden looked pretty excited about Oakland winning last week. As GM or whatever he is, he would probably want to lose, but good for him, I guess.
Yeah, I think they want to get people excited on their way into Vegas, and if they just got the number 1 overall pick, then I don't know if people would be too terribly happy about that. And I think someone came out, I want to say it was maybe Carr, came out and said, we're going to try and upset some people in these next few weeks and ruin some playoff hopes. And like they've already done it once there with Pittsburgh this week. But yeah, Oakland, like this is 2 of the worst defenses in the league. Plain and simple, these are 2 of the worst defenses in the league. Carr has a propensity every once in a while to put up a whole lot of yards in just garbage situations. And this is a pretty garbage situation here. I mean, he had 322 last week. We've seen him put up a 400-yard game this season, although that was with Cooper. Seen him put up a few 300-yard games this season. Like, this is a spot where potentially you're getting him at 5,400. You can pair him with Jordy or pair him with Cook or pair him with anyone for almost no money here. We want money to spend up for a few guys. Like this and Buffalo are the ways to do it. Like anyone from this game, even over on the other side there. I mean, Driscoll may not be a great quarterback, but he's going up against Oakland. I mean, again, they hasn't had a single good game, although in the second half of that Cleveland game, he still put up a decent amount of points there. But he's going up against an Oakland defense that's terrible. He just faced Denver. He just faced the Chargers. Like those are 2 of the toughest defenses to play as an opposing quarterback here. And so now he actually gets one incredible matchup here. Boyd is only 5,700, and this was a guy that, 4 or 5 weeks ago we were talking about as, like, maybe better than A.J. Green. I guess that was like 8 weeks ago. But he was just absolutely on a tear. We could potentially see him with a huge game here. We know Oakland is not very good against the tight end, and Uzomah, outside of last week versus the Chargers, who are actually pretty good against the tight end, is seeing a decent amount of targets from Driscoll. So he's only 3,600 if you don't want to pay up for a tight end. But if you do want to pay up for a tight end, there's obviously a bunch of good options. And in this game, you can go with Cook. So I absolutely love this game all over the place. But Mixon is, in all likelihood, the guy that's just going to go absolutely crazy here. They could rely on him heavily. He obviously got 26 rushes last week. He got 6 targets. He could be in for a massive workload. And I haven't looked at the snap counts between him and Bernard here, but I'm assuming that they kind of just went straight into full Mixon mode.
It's Mixon mode, man.
Yeah, and this is a game where they're not going to be coming from behind. That's too.
Oh, boy.
And so, like, they're going to hammer the ball probably throughout the entire game here. So this could be a huge Mixon game for only, 6,100 over on DK? Yeah.
So I pulled it up. 67 snaps last week for the Cincinnati Bengals. 47 times Mixon was on the field. So that's a good portion. Bernard was on there for 25 times, and that sort of speaks to the game flow as well. And if the Bengals are favored to win a football game because somebody has to be favored to win this football game, and they're currently favored by 3. And that's Vegas is throwing their hands up, saying like these teams are basically the same. They're both equally terrible. I think Joe Mixon's a really, really – I think he's a cash game play. I haven't built the lineup just yet, but in my head, Bobby, even the cash game brain for me is Joe Mixon.
Oh,
there you go.
I feel like a cash game, that's like the easiest play in the world. I don't think that's even like anything bold that you're saying. Obviously,
It's not as easy as Josh Allen.
Well,
Great, that's ridiculous.
I'm not trying – it's just weird that Mixon, a guy –
you get one quarterback, you get 3 running backs if you're playing cash. And
if you get Josh Allen, you get 4 running backs.
Okay, so I just had a quick glance. I know it's early
no quarterbacks.
Before any injuries, I'm going to bet that he's one of the highest owned cash game running backs, just looking at the slate quickly.
That's a pretty reasonable assessment.
I would bet he's the highest owned. I would bet there's no one higher than him unless somebody gets injured.
I don't know. Like, things can happen.
Well, we're talking about it. Let's talk. Give me somebody else.
Well, Samuels, right? Why wouldn't Samuels be up there?
I love Samuels because I don't think that he's going to after the price increase. I just don't think he's.
It wasn't increased enough.
He's 900 less than Mixon, and with Mixon, you have like a sure 15 to 30, somewhere between 15 to 35 or so, like maybe higher. Like I don't understand. No, there's no way it's going to be.
I don't know the build just yet, but if you had to pick just one of the big names up top, you got Barkley and you got Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott at Indianapolis, Barkley at home versus Tennessee. Which of those two do you prefer, Bobby?
It's Barkley all the time for me, and it's not going to change even though the matchup's worse. I think that Barkley would have had like 50 or 60 on Sunday if they didn't run up by so much and they didn't pull him from the game like early in the third. If Beckham's out, if Barkley just run, you have to think about changing all your lineups and getting Barkley in. Like he's going to get so much work in this offense, and we didn't really get to see it fully on display because they were up 40-0, early in the third. But we got to see a little bit of it, and this guy's going to make one play that every time. The only thing is though, in this week, I think for running backs, what you do is you pay down for Mixon, Samuels, and then my favorite GPP play on the slate is David Johnson for running backs.
He might be a cash game play too, like depending on how the build.
No, I know, and that's what I'm wondering. But like, I think if the game was at home, maybe he would be. I'm not sure that people are going to go there. Like he's kind of, in terms of a cash game brain, like let people down 3 weeks in a row now. But the actual workload is there. I know he's getting, get 8 catches for 12 yards.
And he's facing Atlanta, who loves to give up passes to running backs.
Yeah, so he might, even if he ends up with only 10 catches if he only has 20 yards receiving, it probably got you 12 catches there. But actually, against Atlanta, more likely what I was going to say is that one of those breaks. And something happens and he breaks free for a big play, not to mention that he can get him on the ground. And Atlanta looks broken to me right now, just to be honest with you. So I think there's an opportunity for Arizona in this game and makes David Johnson much more interesting because early in the year we would have just thought, they're getting thrashed. Let's forget about it. But I think they've got a shot here, and I love David Johnson's price. Early in the week, he's one of my favorite GPP plays. I also love
Can I be a curmudgeon for a second? You guys mind? The Saquon Barkley touchdown, everybody was like saying, the Saquon Barkley, the greatest player of all time. That 75-yard touchdown. Like, name me a running back that would not have scored on that play. Like, he's a super.
Jerome Bettis.
What does it have to do with it every week?
The point is, like, he's an exceptional talent. He's a great athlete. But he didn't do anything on that 75-yard touchdown. He didn't do anything. There was he was never touched. He was never close to being touched. The line opened up this ridiculous hole. Somebody
broke the record for tackles evaded by like week 9 or something this year.
You're not understanding what I'm saying. My point is, this is me being a curmudgeon. That's all. He's an exceptional talent. But don't point to that play to prove to me he's an exceptional talent.
All right, how about we point to the fact that he had, 150 of those yards in the first half, and they were way ahead, so they didn't have to use them that much?
Well, 75 was on a nonsense play that any running back would have scored on, is the point I'm making.
The point I'm making is that he's had 50-yard touchdowns multiple times this season, and he can do it at any given time. Not only that, his usage goes up incredibly without OBJ in the lineup. I do agree with Bobby that Barkley is a better play if OBJ isn't playing, but OBJ I think is going to play this week. So I'm actually on the Zeke train considering what he's done with Cooper in the offense.
Being a parent can be really challenging. It's normal to feel uncertain about whether you're doing the right things to raise healthy and happy children. That's why Child and Family Resource Network focuses on connecting pregnant parents and those with kids under the age of 5 with free support services to help them build confidence in their parenting journey. Everyone deserves to have someone they can turn to for support with parenting. Visit childandfamilyresourcenetwork.org today.
Think you know Amazon? Think again. Did you know you can get a seasonal warehouse job offer today? You don't even need to interview. That means you can make extra cash before the holidays. You can even pick your own payday. And seasonal jobs can lead to full-time, regular employment. You'll be amazed by what you can get as an Amazon warehouse associate. To learn more about all the benefits of working a seasonal job at Amazon, go to amazon.com/hourly. Amazon is proud to be an equal opportunity employer.
Yeah, I like players in the carpet for what it's worth. Talk about the Cowboys in Indianapolis. I think it's just kind of appealing, but the prices are basically the same. They're more or less the same. And we talk about David Johnson as well, Grant, and feel free to give your thoughts as far as Johnson. He's in a dome as well too, which I think it's just a nice little perk to have in December, this late in the season, with weather being murky depending on. Give me your take here as far as the guys, or if you want to complete your thought as far as the guys up top, and then let's talk about some David Johnson.
It's Fournette is actually a better play than David Johnson, in my opinion here. Like the things just did not go right in Tennessee, but this week they're going up against Washington. I mean, does anyone really expect Washington we should also probably talk about their quarterback situation at some point, but they're 7-point favorites over Washington right now. It's not a high total, but Fournette's going to get the ball 30 times in this game. In all likelihood. Yes, they want to see a little bit what Kessler can do, but they really don't expect him to be the QB of the future. They're going to run the ball with Fournette over and over and over again. It's just what they do. It's just what Jacksonville does, and he should end up with, he's probably one of the safest guys to get 90 yards and a touchdown. So I really like Fournette here at 7,500. I do like David Johnson. As I said, I have OBJ's playing. I prefer Zeke. He's averaging almost 30 points. Since Cooper's been in the offense here, we know that he's going to get 25 carries. He's heavily involved in the passing game. You're not getting much bigger usage from anyone over the last few years outside of David Johnson 2 years ago and Le'Veon Bell. So Zeke is absolutely the guy that's just going to be hammering the ball constantly. I prefer his workload over to Barkley's. But yeah, those are the guys that I'm going with at the top. I mean, Aaron Jones, we just saw what Chicago did to Gurley. I could see Aaron Jones doing something, but I don't know if I want to go there.
Yeah.
Cook, Cohen, White, Carson, just read the guys on this list. They really screwed us by putting the Saturday games with the teams they did, and the Thursday game, and the Monday and the Sunday night game.
Yeah, the schedule makers did an awful job this week. Brutal job.
Yeah, they really hate DFS.
Since we mentioned a bunch of other running backs, can we throw in the Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry are got to be in play? And Derrick Henry has to be in play, and if you feel like it's chasing, that's fine. But the fact that the guy scored 50 fantasy points last week, we should probably mention the guy at 5K.
The Tecmo Bowl touchdown. Of all people to score the Tecmo Bowl touchdown, I would never think it's Derrick Henry, but good for him. That's a play that we ran in highlights for on the YouTube for hundreds of years probably. Assuming YouTube's
YouTube will be around. Yeah, it's not going to be around.
Yeah, well, that play. There's people who are already saying it's top 5 play of all time.
I thought you were saying YouTube's been around in a couple hundred years. That's a strong take. Which it might be. I don't know.
I mean, who's going to be watching videos? We're all going to be watching memories back then. They're going to be digging up corpses, dissecting brains, and they're going to see memories.
Jones didn't start that game, oddly enough, for whatever reason. I don't really know why, but he did end up playing 2/3 of the snaps. But I'm not really sure what the story is. Green Bay considers still is an enigma as far as the coaching perspective. And you mentioned Fournette, and you're right, the extra rest too, and he got game scripted out of that game on Thursday night. Thursday night games tend to be wonky sometimes, where especially the road team. We saw Washington against Saquon Barkley, and they gave up that ridiculous 75-yard touchdown amongst other plays as well. And he's overpriced. Fournette just shouldn't be this expensive. So if you want to play the old nobody's going to play him route, yeah, for sure.
Wait,
Fournette, I'll give you one more guy.
This expensive all last year, wasn't he? He was this expensive at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, and he was actually producing. I actually don't agree that this is overpriced. I like his price, fine. The only thing I'm arguing is that there's better plays with
better upside. Now that I look at it with David Johnson, I may not even agree with that because some of these cheaper guys just are there's real like upside.
Well, David Johnson and Mixon are better plays probably straight up, and they're distinctly cheaper.
I agree that they are, but I also think that like Fournette, like Grant was pointing, like he's a legit top running back. He just hasn't been. Things didn't work out right. We've seen how that happens in game scripts, and especially when you have a pass catching back. But playing at home, although it's odd, he's mostly better on the road, which is where they tend to grind him out even more. I just think that there is a chance for him to go off here, but I don't think he's one of the best plays. But I do think he's an interesting play depending on what ownership is. I don't think it's too expensive though.
You want a really gross play before we move on and talk about some receivers?
Jeff Wilson.
That's not gross. That's beautiful.
It's a great
play.
Yeah,
talk about Jeff Wilson. I was skipping him in my head for some reason, but he's worth talking about, obviously. Go ahead, Grant.
This guy has been getting an incredible amount of work. Like, I mean, obviously he had the 8 catches against this Seattle team 2 weeks ago. And that was even before he had like fully solidified himself because that game, I believe Breda started, and that was when Breda got injured. He had 23 carries against a really, really good Denver run defense and still had 90 yards rushing, only had 2 targets, 1 reception for 6 yards. It was a little bit game flow. Basically they scored on a couple big giant Kittle plays. And then they were grinding the ball with Wilson a lot of the game. But I think that's a really tough defense. The Seattle defense is obviously he's already, he put 20 on him last time. He's 4,600. He's got the full workload to himself. He should be heavily involved in both the passing and running game. And at this price, he's probably going to get overlooked, I think, a little bit. I just think it's a great price for a guy who's, I think, going to put up somewhere between 20 and 30.
It's just funny how people perceive him. And, like, if you had just gotten the end zone last week, he'd be, probably, I don't know, twice the ownership coming into this week. But like you said, 23 carries, 90 yards on the ground. He has shown the ability to catch the ball, and, like, there just does not seem to be anybody else in that backfield. He's going to garner most of the usage. Grant, if you have anything to add on, Wilson, feel free to do so.
I mean, he could get it done in the receiving game. They could be coming from behind, number 3. And he's 46.
I wasn't adding on. Go ahead.
I mean, he's getting the workload. He's cheap, and he's going to be involved in the pass game more than he was this last week going up against Denver, where they just decided to rely heavily on Kittle because Denver's not great for his tight end, and Kittle crushed. So this week I'm expecting Jeff Wilson Jr. to be heavily in play again too. Just people aren't going to want to pay $4,600, $800 more for him. Even though he's absolutely worth it, we have a true workhorse back here for very cheap. What do we want in fantasy? We want backs that are getting all the carries, all the touches, everything, and he is getting that.
How about a back that may get a lot of carries since that a necessity? He was terrible last week because he was game scripted out, and it certainly might happen again. But if the game script goes his way, if his team, they have their druthers, like he's going to carry the ball 30 times at 4.1K. Do you guys know who I'm talking about?
I mean, if I looked at 4.1K, I probably could.
I don't want to play. This is the cheapest he's been the entire season. And again, he's really game scripts.
It's probably worth definitely taking shots on. But I think you're talking about Wilson has more upside, and a higher floor. And this team is a mess. But
I mean, Dean, if we're talking about AP's game versus Philly, if he didn't have that 90-yard touchdown run that anyone in the NFL, he'd only have 8 yards rushing.
I don't know. Saquon probably will only get 75 or so on that carry. But my point is, they have their Johnson or Sanchez. I don't know who they're going to come up with a quarterback this week. In Washington, they're playing out the string, however you want to say it. They don't want to be there, but they're professionals, and they would love to just hand the ball off to Peterson. AD, by the way, all day, Adrian Peterson, 29 times, and he's the lowest he's been the entire season, partly due to matchup, partly due to recency bias. And I'm just saying, and I don't want to say dean it at 10%, but get yourself a little pinch. Get yourself a little pinch of Adrian Peterson. I don't hate it.
Or Chris Thompson, who's going to be involved if they are playing from down points. Nailed it.
I've got a real sweat going on here.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
Bobby's distracted.
20 minutes for Bobby to talk about basketball.
Cash your tickets if you had at the, the 38-minute moment in the podcast. I don't know the exact time, but there it is. And Bobby's got LeBron, the GOAT. So good. Of course you're going to win, Bobby.
Right now he's the one who's killing me. I have LeBron and Davis, and everybody else is crushing for him. I need to get Ben back on the court too. Okay, all right. Anyway,
we have distracted Bobby. The people enjoyed this in the comment section last time. Bobby was distracted and watching basketball. But we kind of sort of jumped over quarterbacks because there's not a lot of – we talked about Ben. We didn't really touch on much else. I don't know.
We talked about Derek Carr. We talked about Driscoll vaguely.
We talked about Allen.
What a gross set of quarterbacks you talked about. Who did we miss? Who were we talking about?
Russell Wilson at the top is fine.
No.
Why?
Because he doesn't throw the ball that much. They're just going to run it over and over again.
Everybody keeps saying that. He keeps putting up huge games. Like
not this last week against the – I'm told he was terrible on Monday Night Football.
Minnesota's a pretty tough defense, and they also that was a weird game, by the way, the parts that I saw. But anyway, I like the Roethlisberger Brady part of this game. That just I think that's where I'm mostly focused on this early in the week, because nobody really does like as a one-off play like entirely stand out. If Jackson does start again, I think that he's really interesting, and I don't think you need to pair him with anybody.
Ray, is there any more quarterbacks that are worth talking about here?
I mean, Luck, pretty much just a guarantee for 3 touchdowns prior to the last 2 weeks. I think that he's in play even against this tough Dallas defense. Luck's still going to be throwing the ball all game long, and he pairs perfectly with Hilton and Ebron. I mean, if he's going to throw the ball 40 times, you can guarantee that they're getting a lot of targets in any one of those matchups. We talked about Brady vaguely. I think he's in play. Don't forget that Trubisky is still a guy that can put up 30 points any given time for no apparent reason. And going against Green Bay, this could be the scenario. I know he didn't do that great this last week, but that was game script dependent, and this Rams defense is a lot.
I don't think it was game script. It was not game script dependent. Nobody scored in that game.
Yeah, and that was the script. No one's going to score. That's just how
the script is both quarterbacks throw 4 interceptions. You go with that there, Trubisky? But I'm willing to forgive Goff. He's a California kid. He's got small hands. He doesn't know how to play in the cold. He's going to be playing – again, this is a Yahoo.
Small hands keeps you from playing in the cold? What are you talking about?
Gripping the ball. Come on, what are you talking about?
I don't care.
It's harder to grip the ball in the cold. Yeah.
It is, but it doesn't really change with the size of your hands, I don't think.
Yeah. Wait, what?
The ball deflates in the cold. Do you not remember Deflategate? The ball gets smaller in the cold. Fits his hands better.
No, it depends. I mean, anyway, that's not the case. But anyway.
Also,
Bobby's Bobby, you're from California. Bobby, you're from California. You don't want to throw the ball in like 20-degree weather in Minnesota.
I don't want to do anything in 20-degree weather.
Exactly. That's the whole point I'm making. He wanted to leave the whole time.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I'm willing to forgive him. That's all I'm saying. I think he rebounds.
Yeah, I agree. You think that Goff does?
Yeah.
He's not on the slate.
He's on the Yahoo.
He's on the Yahoo slate.
Oh, then yeah, absolutely. I agree. Go for it.
And should we talk about Dak? He had a monster DFS game, and of course you could pair him with Cooper, who, I mean, are you guys buying the Cooper? Is this legit? I mean, obviously he can't be this good every single week, and he got a price hike, but is there still some value in that play, Grant?
I mean, no one wants to play him at 7,500. We've seen this so many times before.
Trust me.
People, not as much as you think. I don't, or who knows? Who knows at this point? But like where a lot of Dak's productivity is coming from. It's coming from Cooper. Cooper's going to get a ton of targets. Cooper's probably going to, if he catches them, do well. They're playing in a dome in Indy. So I'm fine with the Dak and Cooper pairing, just strictly from a corollary standpoint. I don't think they're good raw point per dollar plays. Dak probably better than Cooper, but they do correlate perfectly.
Yeah, I would love to hear the argument against Cooper being a good play because first of all, I think he is going to be chalk, and he better be. He just had the two best receiving games of the year by anyone in the last 3 weeks. He's had 8 targets in every game he's played with Dallas. He's going to probably have double-digit targets in this one. I honestly I don't know how much of him I'm going to have because I love so many other receivers, but it's really hard for me to not think of this as a good play. And part of the reason I wanted to fade it is because I think it is going to be the chalk.
I mean, you can say the same thing about T.Y. Hilton.
He didn't have the games like Amari Cooper did.
I mean, 39 and 31. What did
50,
Cooper have?
51 and 41.
I mean, that's just math. That's just numbers. That's clearly irrelevant.
Well, I mean,
play yourself some Zeke, some Cooper, some Ebron at tight end. Get yourself one of the quarterbacks in that game, and you get and T.Y. Hilton. You get that's it. There's your 5-player stack in that game. I think I'm on a 5-player stack from a game, but that could be a lot of fun. That's something I might do on this slate. We shall see. But can I give a non-DFS take on Cooper? Do we have time for that?
No? I guess, yeah, go
ahead. all the people that are like pointing to that trade and saying, you guys are all wrong. I stand by it was a terrible trade for Dallas, and I'll tell you why. You traded around a first-round pick for the services of Amari Cooper for a year and a half. Unless you think you were one Amari Cooper away from winning the Super Bowl, you should not do that.
Dean, you're already just way out of line. First of all, I hate to admit this. If you don't think Dallas thinks they can win the Super Bowl, and they should believe that, they just beat New Orleans.
They should think that, but they can't. Outside of something really wonky.
I don't see it happening, but I think it's kind of crazy to say that they can't with what we just have seen recently. I just think you got to at least consider it.
And it's possible, but the Dolphins can theoretically.
They were going to be at the bottom of the league, and instead they're going to be in the playoffs. And because of it, the draft pick is not going to be like a top 5 pick like we were initially worried about. It's going to end up being somewhere in the 20s. It's absolutely different. It was a great trade, and there's no defending it. There's really no defending against it right now to me.
Well, I didn't finish, but there was a 2-pronged point. The first part of the point is they're not Amari Cooper away from winning a Super Bowl. The second part of the point is that this is the worst part. Like, they could have signed him for free and cost them nothing except for just signing him in 2020. But here's the problem. Getting him out of Oakland and having him excel in Dallas, now they're going to have to spend more with him playing well and his padding stats than they would have spent if he went in Oakland and they still had their first-round pick. Oh, boy. That's just brutal. Terrible job. I guess I didn't tell you, Bobby. Grant, do you care about this, or shall I move on?
I think I was originally on your side, and now after hearing you talk, I'm now on Bobby's side.
I gave a hell of a pitch. Did you not hear both prongs? I think you might have tuned out.
You just mentioned that they have him for another year at incredibly cheap. So what? 50% of the total amount
of $13 million. He's not incredibly cheap. He's $13 million.
It's $13 million. He's still not under his rookie contract.
I'm pretty sure he's $13 million. And the point is, if he had his Oakland stats, he'd be much cheaper as a free agent. Now the stats in Dallas are going to pay, twice as much. They're paying hurricane prices for him.
I mean, the real problem is now they actually have to give Jason Garrett a contract, which is not good.
That
is we can all agree on that. The clapper. All right. Wide receivers, boys. We're actually running long here. I think it's because of my little segue. This is definitely on me.
So we sort of talked about it, so we can probably keep it a little bit shorter because we sort of talked about a lot of it.
Yeah.
Well, wide receivers, Bobby. Just hit up whatever jumps out for you.
Antonio Brown and Schuster in that game, along with Gordon on the other side and Edelman. I also really like I like Thielen and Diggs. I think I'd probably pick just one of them. I'm not going to stack that game, but I do like. I think one of them breaks through for a big game, and potentially both. I also think that Cooper, we just talked about for a lot of reasons, makes a lot of sense. I like the Buffalo potential value. I think for me, I'm just going to take shots as Zay Jones, though. I don't think I'm going to go get creative with it and trust on all the Foster stuff. Maybe I'll throw him into a couple. I don't know where I'm going to stand, but I also prefer the Jordy Nelson angle. I think it's a better play. And a guy no one's talking about who's really cheap, and I'm sure this will change throughout the week, but Michael Gallup, I think that's a really interesting play. And, no one wants to play him. Dean, you mentioned you like that game. Other than Cooper, I think you can play Gallup here. He's been missed on probably 4 would-be touchdowns wide open by Dak. Now, I'm not saying Dak's all of a sudden going to be perfect. And, that's one great thing about a big target like Amari. Amari can go up and grab everything. But Gallup has literally been on the verge of, having monster performances. And I just could see him in this game. They're pretty good against the number 1 receiver over there in Indianapolis. And somehow he gets worked into it more. And he's been getting the targets. And I just think the production is going to follow soon. He's really talented, this kid.
Add on there, Grant, or feel free to elaborate any of the players he's thrown out there and some dudes that he's not mentioned.
I mean, everyone can talk about the top price guys all they want for the rest of the week. I'm not even going to go there because it's basically the same thing. Yeah, these guys are in play. I slightly prefer this guy. Bruce Ellington, if he plays, didn't get a whole lot of work in this last game, but he can get a whole lot more work with Galladay going up against White. So, he could easily shut him down. Or Detroit's going to have to throw somewhere. Ellington could be involved for a heavy game. I already talked about Jordy being a potential great play. I already talked about Zay Jones and Reuben Foster being a potentially great play. Same with Seth Roberts here. I need to look into the game more for what's it called for Washington. But I think it was Josh, whatever his name is. Whoever's quarterback for Washington. I kind of erased it.
Johnson.
Yeah. He did throw to Crowder, if I remember correctly, quite a bit. Crowder is only 3,700 here. I guess going up against Jacksonville. But if he is the starting quarterback, I think that you can look there a little bit. That's basically where I'm at with
Tyler Boyd, by the way, we didn't say.
Oh, yeah. Well, we talked about
we kind of brushed him. We brushed on him.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic play.
I heard Bruce Ellington. My one issue with Bruce Ellington is that, like, the dude's got an A.dot lower than my college GPA, and I'm not that smart. So that's kind of a problem.
He runs right. He has games like David Johnson had, except for 7 catches for 5 yards.
I mean, that's 7.5 points there.
There you go, right there. Boom.
You're not winning anything with 7.5 points.
More.
Tight ends. We kind of hit everything up, but let's kind of give a little blow by as far as tight ends as well. We mentioned Kittle in passing. Is it a chase if you play Kittle? I don't think it's a chase per se. I wouldn't expect the same thing, but we see what his ceiling is, right, Grant?
I mean, Kittle's one of the best tight ends in the league. I mean, the last time he had less than 10 points was against Green Bay in Week 6, and that was, I think, one of 2 times where he's had less than 10 points. They're probably going to be coming from behind. That's 4 in this game, and so 6,300. I have no problem paying up for him, considering the lack. There just isn't great tight end value on this slate or most slates. I mean, like I said, I could go with Uzoma, but I'm paying up for tight end between Jared Cook, Ebron, Kittle, or Gronk. That's where I want to go. I know that makes it's tough to do with Barkley and Elliott if you want to get them into your lineup, but there is value at wide receiver. There is some value at quarterback. We don't have KC on the slate, so it's a lot easier than you think to pay up for your tight end. So I don't really want to pay down for really anyone. Maybe Vance could potentially go off for a big game.
Yeah, it doesn't. Nobody's really jumping out to me, and of course there is some value in theory to pay down for somebody. But I agree. I think Kittle, Ebron, Gronk, even Cook, one of those guys kind of gets there, and you certainly want to have your share in tournaments. Does anybody stand out for you, Bobby? Do you have a cheapie for us? Because I don't see it just yet. Oh, you know what? I got one for you maybe. Vernon Davis. How much is Vernon Davis? He's 3-2 on DK. Jordan Reed finally succumbed. I think he's got a couple injuries working for him, so there's a chance that we have no Jordan Reed. But, Washington's in the lowest total of the week, and they're dogs. So their team total has got to be, 15 or so. Not very appealing, but I'm looking for somebody, Bobby. Who do you have for me?
Yeah, it's not pretty. I think the best bet is probably Rudolph. We saw what Gronk just did to this team. He's 3,500, but Uzoma and Davis I think are interesting also. Not loving this low end. I do think if Mark Andrews plays that he's in play. I'm just going to keep playing tight ends against Tampa Bay. I don't care if it doesn't work every single time.
Classic Bobby.
I'm going to give it a shot.
Who's Mark Andrews?
Yeah, if assuming that he's going to end up being the actual starting to. He ended up being out this last week, I believe, right? Anyway, I think look, it's early in the week. You asked for cheap guys. Mostly, I'm looking at the guys to pay up for. These are the guys I'm naming.
Guys, Trey Burton's pretty cheap considering what he was earlier on this
Jimmy
season.
Graham might get a lot of work because they're going to have to get rid of the ball so quick in Green Bay with their line against Chicago's pass rush. Jimmy Graham could end up actually doing those little slide routes where he ends up catching 7 balls and maybe get something over the middle for a touchdown. But none of it feels good.
We don't really talk about defenses, do we? I don't think so. Is that it? Is it the podcast, boys? Ready for our shenanigans?
I guess. How much time do we have?
We sort of got into our shenanigans already. I feel like we did pretty good.
You sprinkled it in throughout the show.
Bobby, did you just come out from under a blanket? You just sounded like you went under a blanket to out of the blanket, like you were.
He's sweating LeBron right now. He's who, by the way, has been doing pretty well of late. So you know what? You speak plain, man.
Everybody thought it was ridiculous to play the LeBron Dwayne Wade narrative, and apparently it was. Dwayne Wade has shot the ball terribly.
What we're talking about.
Yes, they do. They know. These people play DFS basketball too.
These people.
Our lovely fans.
So there you go. Grant, tweets or consequences. I lost last week. That was unfortunate. So what is my punishment?
So I had to get Mango involved because he got really excited about this one.
Sure.
But I think it's something along the lines of to pay homage, which I believe is how it's pronounced, to pay homage to my idol, Booger McFarlane, and the Boogermobile. I will be installing one of these in every room in my house. #Boogermobile. And you have to wait till tomorrow to see the picture that will be involved in this. But it is comedic, I hope. I have not made it yet.
Is there photoshopping involved? Is that what's going on?
There may or may not be. But
Well,
I didn't go and want to be involved, so I let him go in on the shenanigans. Since I think did he win? I don't even know who I picked. I don't know who he picked. I honestly don't remember most of the last 17 years of my life.
You joke, but tell me you would turn down a Boogermobile.
No, not even a second thought. I would take that immediately, and I would become an obese man just so I have a reason to be in it. I would become so morbidly obese that everyone's like, that guy's smart for getting that. That guy is very smart for getting that. That guy made good life choices.
I like the Booger Cam too, which is always nice. Let's pick. What are we targeting, Bobby? Where do we read divisive? I feel like we kind of sort of agreed on most things, which is.
I mean, I want all the Josh Allen, or we can go with low-priced wide receivers.
Oh, I don't. Well, I mean, you can have Ellington. Ellington's a safe play for this game because he's going to get 8, and just assume that one of either me or Bobby kind of tank.
I mean, I want or Robert Foster for going low-priced wide receivers.
Ooh.
All right, I'll take Zay Jones.
Aha!
Oh, well, I guarantee one of you guys are going to lose. Like, both those guys can't go off.
Yeah.
You can take McKenzie. Take McKenzie.
You're lucky. Yeah, take McKenzie.
I do not want – no, I don't want McKenzie. I'm not taking McKenzie.
Dude, the guy just had 16 points last week. That's like 4x.
Okay, but he's not going to have that this week. This is daily fantasy sports, which stands for DFS. Wait, I reversed that, but you know what I mean. It's all about what he does this week, and he's not going to do that this week. I don't think so.
Oh gosh, if McKenzie goes up for 20, Dean, you have to wear my GIMP suit that I purchased on Amazon. I mean, no one will be able to see it, but you have to wear it.
Snug. I'm trying to find somebody. And this, I don't like.
You guys should read the chat that we have on our thing.
Well, Grant, go ahead and read it as I scroll through because I'm trying to find a cheapie here, and it's just not jumping out for me. I feel like.
What chat are you talking about? On our thing. Are you sending me weird messages?
I'm stalling and buying time, guys. I got nothing.
All right, just pick someone. Pick anyone.
I'm going to take Ellington and reserve the right to change my mind at a future date.
Sounds good. We're not allowing it. It's locked in.
No, I don't want Ellington.
Dean, come on.
You might not play. All right. Well, okay, Ellington. Yeah, Bobby. All right, Bobby. Bobby's got places to do. We're recording on a Monday night. There you go. Is that the podcast, boys? Are we done? I think we're done. Give me a final thought, Bobby. Outside of we're rooting for your teams.
I think it's a really interesting slate. Like, it's not about rooting for my teams. It's a really interesting slate, and I'm excited because I think there's a lot of ways to go. But I thought we talked about some good things as far as running backs and wide receiver. Obviously, we're going to hear news later in the week. I would just encourage people not to overreact to that news.
Grant, top that.
I'd like to hear us talk more about fantasy basketball.
Specifically
season long.
There's best balls now, I believe, for draft out there. One more reminder before we step aside and get out of here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for making it this far. But in all honesty, seriously, if you're playing any sites, if you're playing any sort of volume, if you take DFS seriously in any way, and you probably do, despite the fact that you're listening to this podcast at this point, despite the fact it's not the most serious of podcasts, you would know that hitting up Yahoo this week, $20 per entry, max enter that bad boy, $250K and an absolute minimum coming back as far as overlay. If you're not a member on Yahoo DFS as of right now, go to RotoGrinders.com/Yahoo. Put in the promo code Grinders30. You get yourself a $30 matching bonus. That's it. That's the show. That's the podcast. He's Grant. Bobby, crush it tonight. We want to see a real legit screenshot life, not like in the middle of the slate. At the end of the slate, we wish you luck. I'm Dean. Thanks for listening. Good luck on week 15. We're out of here. Ho!
See you, kids.